Well, welcome back. Today we're getting healthy with Dr. G, and we're going to talk about condiments and kind of side dishes today. Really looking at things that we can buy in our grocery store or even at the health food store that's not going to cause a lot of toxic chemical problems. So much of what we do, as far as getting people well, is first not causing the problem. That's the first stage. And so much of all the chronic disease that we have, which is obviously skyrocketing in the U.S., is stuff that we're causing ourselves. And there is no better or no greater toxicity that we can cause for our body than what we digest every day, right? And so many of the foods that we are now using aren't the foods that our grandparents used. They're foods that have longer shelf lives because they use chemicals made from things like petroleum, which give it really good shelf life, but then harms you in the process. So with patients, when we talk about changing the food, there's this, well, what do I do about this? What do I do about this? And, even for me, reading these labels at the grocery store, it can take forever shopping, but you can find the natural stuff still in there. You can find the original non-toxic stuff, even with your traditional brands. They'll make that original, healthy, real food, and then they'll make lots of different versions that are not healthy. So we're going to go through several of these. One thing is with soy sauce. So soy sauce is a wonderful flavoring for your salmon and for your rice dishes, your stir fries, but most soy sauces use genetically modified soy, which is pretty harmful for you, and they also have something called sodium benzoate, which benzo is from benzene, which is the other name for gasoline. And so that's a preservative that we know all the way back from the 1900s causes things like leukemia, which is now the #1 cause of childhood cancer. So we don't want it to be anywhere near those things. So liquid aminos, this is Bragg's, they're a naturopathic company. This is at your local Dillon's. This is widely available at the health food stores, but even your local stores. And it tastes the same, if not better. And there's no chemicals in here. If you look at the ingredients on here, we have vegetable protein from non-GMO soybeans and water. And that's it. And that's what you want. You want things that have just a handful of ingredients and things that you can pronounce, or you can make that yourself in your own kitchen. Ketchup, which is the #1 condiment in the U.S., this stuff can be really bad for you, especially with the amount of high fructose corn syrup that they put in there, which now we're seeing fatty liver disease in children up to 10 years of age now. So if you look at the ingredients of this, it's just tomato concentrate from red ripe vine-ripened tomatoes, and that's good because with the vine-ripened, they're too soft to go to the store, so they puree them into ketchup, and you get the most nutrients through this than you do the store-bought tomatoes. And then it has your vinegar, your salt, sugar, onion powder, spice, and natural flavorings. So that's exactly the same way that you would make this stuff at home. So while this exists through the Heinz brand, and this is just simply Heinz tomato ketchup, they still make other lines within that same company that you have to read those labels. You can't just pick up this stuff anymore and just start using it. Same thing with mustard. Mustard's pretty simple. Mustard seed with some vinegar in there and some sugar, but this is the same thing. #1 thing is vinegar, then mustard seed, turmeric, which is the yellow food coloring, yellow coloring, that's natural. It's a great pain reliever. Paprika, natural spices, and garlic powder. So medicinal foods. This is Curly's barbecue sauce, and this is at Walmart. And I was very surprised because I love barbecue sauce, but you can't find it really that isn't toxic for you. And I was very excited. This is a locally produced one from Hutchinson. And again, tomato puree, salt, vinegar, hickory smoke, salt on their choice, sugar, garlic, spices, and onions. Same thing that you would use to make your own. So this is exactly what you and your kids want to have. And then a Bertolli's, which is the same kind of olive oil dressing that I get. It's the same, the same basic ingredients that we see with these. And, there's a good book called Salt, Fat, Sugar, and it talks about how they're now putting sugar in your tomato sauce, which they didn't before. And so you still got to read those labels. Two of my favorites for probiotics, so this is the cheapest way you're going to get really good healthy probiotics or good bacteria in your body, is through sauerkraut, and this is bubbies, which means ant in Yiddish. And ingredients: cabbage, water, salt. Now this is also fermented with good bacteria, and so this is extremely beneficial for you if you have any gut problems. Bubbies pickles, and pickles can be some of the most toxic. They put food coloring in there. They take chemicals from gasoline and color your pickles down. But cucumbers, water, salt, garlic, spices, mustard seed, very, very simple things. Peanut butter, which is probably the favorite snack among children in the U.S. This is a tragedy that you can sit there and look through these, and they'll have 7 different ones with 7 different ingredients. But this one, which is Smucker's, national brand at Walmart, just peanuts and just a little tiny bit of salt. That's how you make it. You just grind peanuts. And my absolute favorite here, horseradish. And this is Bubby's brand too. And I love making my own cocktail sauce, and that's just ketchup and horseradish with a little squirt of lemon juice. I love that, but you couldn't make very good stuff. And even using fish and chicken, I love that. But this is just horseradish, water, white vinegar, sugar cane, salt, and mustard. And of course you see the same ingredients among pretty much all condiments. That takes us to pure maple syrup. And you really want, if you're going to eat pancakes, you're going to eat some, waffles, you want real stuff. Now this is a lot more expensive than typical syrup, American syrup. But American syrup is just sugar with some water, and you just boil it until it changes into a thick syrup. There's no nutrition in that, none at all. Maple syrup is full, it's like honey, it's full of phytonutrients, phytosterols, vitamins, minerals, healthy for you. And so sure, buy the better quality, you're going to spend a little bit more, but you're going to use less, right? It's going to be more precious to you. You just use a lot less because you don't need it anyways, as far as all that sugar on top of a pancake, which then turns to sugar. Now, this is an interesting thing that you can do to also cut down for your flavors, your natural flavors, or your extracts. What you do is, this is vanilla extract, and all you do is you take vanilla sticks, you put it in a bottle of cheap vodka, and then you let it sit for about 2-3 weeks, up to 6 weeks, and you'll get that flavor in there. And that's what you refill or use for vanilla extract in your cooking. And you can do the same thing with cinnamon too, and you're getting the same alcohol, the same flavors, except you're not getting any of the toxicity that's associated with the store-bought ones. So great way to make it and keep it natural. Of course, then you can also drink some flavored vodka if you want to. All right, well, we'll be back after the break. Thank you.
Well, I was really interested in a lot of the things you had to say about this, because, this is barbecue season. Everybody is cooking out and inviting people over and serving hamburgers and hot dogs and chicken and all that kind of stuff. And condiments play a huge role in that. So, and I've noticed, like when Ron and I go to the store, we read labels a lot.
Yeah.
And it's surprising and shocking sometimes when you take an item that you've always used and you start reading the contents and think, oh my gosh, yes. I've been poisoning myself.
Yeah, I think I said that on a couple episodes ago. I was reading the labels of tortillas, the corn tortillas, and they're putting parabens in there, which is estrogen, and so you have methylparaben, ethylparaben, methylethylparaben, and this is what you had to tell people to stay away from in makeups and lotions, and now they're taking those chemicals and now putting them in your food.
Yeah.
It's a tragedy, it really is.
Well, and what makes it the tragedy is that people aren't aware of it,
right.
Because most of us, for years I never read labels. I just, oh yeah, I like that. Oh yeah, I'll take some of that. I never turned anything over and read what was in it.
Right.
And so people aren't aware of what's being done to their food.
Yeah, and I wonder, I didn't even pay attention to that transition growing up, but where things would read just like these, and then suddenly you look at the back of the ketchup bottle and it's some science experiment.
Yeah.
And yet, I don't know when that exactly happened, but we saw it transition through the 80s and 90s in an effort to just make things more profitable.
Right, more profitable and give them a longer shelf life.
That's right.
And like you said before, the longer the shelf life, the shorter your shelf life.
That's right.
And it makes sense. Even seasonings, you know, the little jars of seasonings that you buy, you even have to pay attention to those.
Yes.
Because they may not always be what you think they are.
Yeah. You know, traditionally they just take a root and they grind it up and they put it in a bottle and you buy it and use it. And yet, you know, now they have all these additives and other chemicals in there. And you know, the vanilla extract's a really interesting one, because if pure vanilla extract that's real, you know, it might cost you, say, $2. But if they can take petroleum and then make it taste like vanilla, they save, it costs them 1/1200th less.
Wow.
So they're making 1,200 times the profit, but you're saving $1.
Yeah.
You know? And so if you buy those imitation vanillas, then you're just straight poisoning your family, and you know, it's a surprise. It really is a surprise when you talk about food with people that you know, we're eating things that are causing these diseases, and yet no one said, hey, the food changed. No one's letting us know that, you know, these aren't food anymore, they're chemicals.
Right. Well, and like you said before, there are so many foods that are made with petroleum products.
Yes.
You know, you routinely don't think about eating petroleum products.
Right.
You know, so that there has to be something wrong with that.
Exactly. Yeah, you know, in 1960, the American IQ dropped for the first time and never recovered. And the U.S. Senate heard testimony that the scientists were saying it's the food additives, it's the chemicals that we put in food. And so your yellow food coloring, and so if you buy mustard that had yellow food coloring, when you feed that to yourself or your children, it decreases the brain growth by 3,000%.
Wow.
And so it's, who thinks that your mustard's making you stupid? But it is.
Yeah.
I mean, the national, or not national, but the worldwide educational testing that they're doing for reading, writing, and arithmetic, Polish children are above us now.
Really?
And so all those Polish jokes we made as kids, they're making them about American kids.
They're going to come back to haunt us.
That's right.
You know, and that's the sad part, is the fact that there are so many things that are happening to our food that we're not aware of. Nobody comes out and tells you about it. And yet, you know, when you buy these products, a lot of times you're buying them thinking you're buying a healthy product.
Right.
And you're not. And there ought to be some liability there somewhere, but
there
isn't.
There should be. And you know, pickles got me the other day, because we were buying pickles, and pickles have always just been pickles, you know? And I read that, you know, you buy these things and then suddenly one day you're like, I wonder what's in this. And you read the ingredients and you're just like, why? You know, why would you put food coloring in the pickles? And these are glyconutrient type of pickles, probiotic. So they have good bacteria and they're fermenting. And so the whole broth is medicinal for you. But even at Walmart now, they have a brand of pickles that is just pickle.